What is art? There was a time when the first piece of art was created. It seems probable that the prehistoric origin was the culmination of overlapping practicality and craftsmanship. Naturally, our ancestors were familiar with the building and implementation of weapons to stave off starvation and keep the species alive. The variation in human abilities would have illuminated some individuals to flourish in weapon making more than others. Realizing that it was in everyone's best interest to specialize members, those with a natural tilt to the necessary skills of weapon making would have begun producing weapons for all of the hunters. The increased production of the quality and speed at which weapons were produced, and the longer the hunters could spend in their specialization, would immediately be beneficial. However, no one was aware of what was about to happen. One day, a particularly skilled craftsman created a spear like no other. The chiseled bone spearhead was refined so delicately that it appeared as white glass protruding from a perfectly straight and smooth stick. You could graze your hand down without feeling a single splinter or burl. The feathers alternating in color were so carefully knotted to the wood that the spear glided across the air as if gravity was halved. The level of craftsmanship had never been seen before, and when given to the hunters, they refused to corrupt the beauty with the mud and blood that caked all their other weapons. The weapon was set aside and left to be admired. Art was born out of efficacy, necessity, and craftsmanship. What is the purpose of art? Beauty is diverse and mysterious in ways deeper than just impeccable craftsmanship and manipulation of materials. Beauty is present in concise speech, in patterns and novelty, relationships and contrasts of ideas, objects, colors, shapes, sounds, and interpersonal relationships. The lumber mill who just discovered a revolutionary way to use the last percentage of waste into a new profitable product, or the chemist synthesizing unique compounds in endless variety and minute variations. There is beauty in economy as well as complexity. Beauty cannot be completely isolated in a vacuum. It is impossible to distill beauty out of its host, for without a proxy it ceases to exist. As humans, we are beauty seekers. We seek for novelty, adventure, love, and purpose. Rising from the ash of stars and cosmic dust, our experience of self-awareness in the universe is pure beauty. Through galactic collisions billions of years ago, the building blocks of life were laid down, beginning a gradual unfolding of novelty, passing through a revolutionary threshold. Just as a cell splits into two during mitosis, the universal expression of novelty is divided. But unlike the duplication of the cell, as humans we began to carry the torch, with our dualism in both the physical dimension and of another equally real. Just as alchemists try to create something greater than the sum of the parts, the philosopher's stone, through our physical and mental understanding of the universe, so too does the artist. When we burn bones, clay and stone, add oil and smudge the emulsion into a woven fabric, it ceases to be the individual parts, and instead transforms, or transubstantiates into an idea, expression, a record of beauty, or a curious exploration. When we paint, we're traveling through different dimensions, bringing back content from the higher dimension to the world we experience through our senses. By bridging the gap between these two, we act as the catalyst to facilitate the birth of a new dimension, much to the same way our own conscious came to be. What that dimension will look like is both inconceivable and incomprehensible until it arrives, much the same way that we can't understand consciousness before it was born. As bestowed by the universe as the most novel form of expression in this point of time, we are either the inhibitors or the catalyst, for the rate at which the next wave of novelty will express itself. By partaking in the microcosmic mystery of painting, and taking imagery and symbols from our unconsciousness and bringing them to light, we are creating a similar expression that is occurring on a macrocosmic scale. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. Hermes Trismegistus. Why do we live in a world largely disconnected from art? When starvation and plague are prevalent, the act of creation is stunted. It is impossible to travel across the bridge if the side you started from collapsed. We need our animal needs met before we can embark on the journey with the gods. When we read a book, we learn new information only by attaching that information into the context of what we already know. We attach another piece to the puzzle, but if there is no piece to attach to, we cease to make sense of it. With our exploratory nature, we have to build up the unknown, piece by piece, creating chains into deeper understanding. As we begin to understand something new, we attach a novel development on it, and if we get to the point where we see an error in our discovery, we destroy the chain back until the last valid piece of our new understanding. It is through destruction and reassembling that we evolve our understanding, just as our bodies are in constant flux of killing insufficient cells and creating new ones. Culture, in general, is only focused on deepening our understanding of our physical existence. Our elaborate iterations of atomic diagrams and quarks, but our result to religious language due to the limitation of words to express what is happening when experiencing an altered state, is like a bridge that is held together on one side with a massive stone citadel, and the other only tweed. We have gone so far down the scientific method and so shallow into that realm outside scientific reason, that there is only room in the bottleneck for a few creative individuals to tightrope across that last section of the bridge. What are we told is happening? Some time ago, something happened from nothing, the Big Bang. The Big Bang was the singularity, a point in time where the greatest novelty we can conceptualize came to be. Everything from nothing, the ultimate improbable improbability. From that great novelty, everything continues to expand from the one miracle we can explain all else. Slowly getting further and further apart, more quiet, and the subtle entropy engulfs the universe. Eventually, the last star will burn out and there will be an eternal darkness. Somewhere in that journey we came to be as an anomaly, and we have the gift of experience for a brief time during that journey to entropy. But what if that is not the case? My experience is that things are getting more complex, that there is becoming more energy and more novelty at an expedient pace. There has been more things happening in the last 1,000 years than has happened in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago. Things seem to be speeding up. Maybe we're not being pushed from a singularity in the past. Maybe we're getting pulled by something in the future. Much like the gravitational pull of a black hole, human consciousness could be the mark of entering into that gravitational pull of wherever we're headed towards. As we're being pulled closer and closer to what Terence McKenna called the eschaton or the omega point, we are beginning to see glimpses of that transcendental point when we are outside of our consciousness. As Carl Jung used in an analogy, when there is a total solar eclipse, for a brief moment, you can get a glimpse of the stars during the day. As the bearers of the most novel expression of the universe, our purpose is to act as the catalyst to help bring that presence closer. Art becoming exploratory. When we have these dreams, visions, and altered states, we use art as the bridge. When we stay in the rational side, we become materialistic and discredit them. When we stay on the irrational side, we become schizophrenic and have no floor to stand on. It is by traveling between them that the artist can play the role of the archetypal shaman, where we have one foot in the physical world, but understanding how physical bodies read paintings and how the natural world works through the flow of light and perspective, but on the other foot, come face to face with the transcendental. Words don't have enough depth to transfer the information from one dimension to another. Images are the ultimate form of communication. That is why when you understand somebody, you say, "I see what you mean." How do we know if we have brought something new out of that irrational realm? There are biases, complexes, and noise that can pretend to be something that they are not. To separate the wheat from the chaff, the noise from the genuine, we have to analyze the ideas brought forth in the work of art. Just as we leave our conscious ego to venture into the unconscious, we then have to leave the unconscious to access the implications for ourselves. Our abilities are not something that artists need to repress, but rather integrate. Feeling a certain way or saying that it is your belief can be a starting point. But if it cannot handle the pressure of evaluation, it will break. The amazing thing about things that are true is that they can handle the pressure, any pressure. You can pick it up, throw it against the ground, pick it up again and smash it with a rock. You can throw it in the water and heat it in a fire. It will stay true. Having belief in something, and only belief, is either knowing it will break if you throw it, or refusing to throw it to see what happens in the chance that it will break. Galileo, Copernicus, and Giordano Bruno all questioned the Church's authority over the geocentric model. After throwing the Church's belief against the wall and shattering them into pieces, the Church threatens Copernicus, who retracted his statement, Galileo, who remained on house arrest for the remainder of his life, and Giordano Bruno, who refuted the Church and was condemned to death, saying, "It is proof of a base and low mind for one to wish to think with the masses or majority, merely because the majority is the majority. Truth does not change because it is or is not believed by the majority of the people." We must apply pressure to everything we bring out of the unconscious, and we must be harsh with ourselves. It is through that process that Carl Jung can answer the question, when asked in an interview, "Do you believe in God?" Believe? No. I know. The truth cannot be broken, no matter the pressure that is put on it. Your experiences are more valid than any doctrine or dogma. It is an insult to our existence to refuse questioning something and to be referred to a book with all the answers. So how can we know if the substance we bring back has important value? We cannot expect cultural appreciation or validity, because just as a book giving you all the answers about the universe, culture giving you spoken and unspoken do's and do nots falls into an unbelievably narrow and short-term mindset that is closed off to any novel thought. One has to first escape out of the culture in order to see it untainted by its filter. When we disassociate from culture, the desire for excess money, influence, political power, and physical luxuries becomes comical, and the only thing that seems to matter is the individual fulfilling their purpose to the highest ability they can achieve. In this painting, I am exploring the ideas expressed in this video. Our beginning from cosmic collisions and Earth being bombarded by meteors billions of years ago, leading to the emergence of biology, and, as symbolized from the biblical story of gaining consciousness, here we are now, a brief moment, after gaining consciousness, and before reaching the transcendental horizon. We look out into the unknown, trying to make sense of it all, and in doing so, progress closer to that where we are destined to go.